Hi everybody, it's Wednesday. I'm posting on Wednesdays now. I'm going to call it Words of Wisdom Wednesday. The topic today is food, and you saw me just wolfing down on some chips, Korean barbecue. Just discovered the flavor. It was actually quite good. And you might think it's a little incongruous for somebody to talk about health and immunity and eat some chips, huh? So I think the main thing that I want to talk about today is moderation. Moderation in what you eat, moderation in what you drink, moderation in what you do. Too much of something is not a good thing. And so it's a sort of thing. If you've ever had a Krispy Kreme donut, you can understand why people eat Krispy Kreme donuts. But if you're eating a dozen a week, then there's a problem. Same as if you're drinking 12 beers a week, there's a problem. Or 3 bottles of wine, there's a problem. Or if you're eating some sort of junk food that you get out of the freezer and you just kind of throw together, or Kraft's mac and cheese out of a box. All stuff that isolated won't do harm to you, but united will do a great deal of harm, because it's important to remember you are what you eat. And I have a lot of patients coming to me and guiltily telling me, well, I ate this or I ate that. And I'm like, I don't care about that. What I want to know is overall, what is the quality of your diet? And there's so much good stuff out there, so much to enjoy, that it's not a sin or a crime to go out and have something that you might crave a little bit of, okay? So I'm not talking wasabi Funyuns at lunch every day, but I'm saying if you go out occasionally, have a sweet or have something like that, there's no big deal. So once again, everything in moderation and a well-balanced diet. I can tell you that if you go into the produce section and you come out with not just potatoes, but you come out with anything green or red or orange or yellow, and you mix it together, you're going to be getting some healthy vitamins. You'll be getting vitamin A, vitamin B, C, D, E, and you'll be getting some trace minerals like copper and iron and a little bit of chromium, things like that. So it is important to keep a healthy diet in moderation. I frequently have people, as I said before, that we are so guilty in America. When you go out to dinner with friends, they're like, oh, you're going to get that? It's like, yeah, I'm going out to dinner. Go ahead and get it. It's no big deal. I don't eat it every night. That's the reason I go out to dinner, is to go out and get it. And I think that guilt weighs a little bit on us. Everybody's conscious about it. One thing in my research that I have found, surprisingly enough, is that red wine and chocolate are good for you. I know my cameraman will be very happy about that. But they are good for you, but once again, in moderation. You don't go out and drink a bottle of wine a night. A glass of wine a night is probably okay. It's a little bit excessive for me. And why is this so important, what we eat? Because it is the building blocks of who we are. And it is important to realize that our GI tract is our greatest immune support. There are over 300 square meters of immune support within the gut. There's these little crypts and areas that are called Peyer's patches. And there are other little cells that actually secrete an immunological substance surrounding the mucosa to help protect the lining of your gut. And they help you and protect you. So if you have chronic diarrhea, or if you're on a chronic acid-reducing agent, it is harmful to your immune system, and it is important to realize that. So how do you get out of that? You consult with a nutritionist or a naturopath. Don't go to your MD, because we don't know anything about that stuff. I can tell you that, unless there's a guy that's a specialty in that. So or go to somebody like that, like a naturopath, and they will put you on a restriction diet or an elimination type diet and get your gut back to health. Because once again, this is the most beautiful machine ever created. It is self-sustaining, and it can be self-fulfilling. We just have to learn how to operate it correctly. There's so much temptation out there. When I was young, there were corn chips or Fritos. There were regular potato chips, and there were barbecue chips. Now you go to the chips aisle, and it's a whole string of stuff, all with a lot of bad things for you. So it is important to realize that we put good things into our body. Fat is a no-no. Fat is bad. And now we come to realize that you do need fat, that fat is a very important part of our diet. So many people gain so many weight in the no-fat crisis because they would go out and eat things. Oh, it's low fat, but it's high in calorie. So your glycemic index, or the way your glucose goes up, would shoot to the roof, creating an insulin output that would cause you to have a greater propensity to become a type 2 diabetic. So once again, fat is important. It's good fats that you need to look for. Speaking of good fats, a lot of people like canola oil. Well, it's important to realize that canola oil is a manufactured oil. In fact, when canola was first introduced in Canada, it was called Roundup Ready canola because it's so herbicide resistant. It's such a high GMO. It is a GMO product. So a lot of things that we've been told in the past, I think, are not necessarily true, such as the low fat, the good fat diet. That's the important thing. The types of oil that are not GMO generated. Something like safflower oil is an excellent alternative. Olive oil, as we all know, but it has a little bit of heavy taste. Safflower oil is good. Avocado oil, a little higher in the unsaturated fats, but has a great taste to it. I personally like to use grapeseed oil. So if you start to research and look at things out there, you'll see that the spectrum of things that you can eat, I believe, is much greater than we've been told in the past. And I think reducing our stress regarding our eating and understanding that things in moderation won't harm you will help us substantially in the long run. I have an interesting story. I had a patient come in, he's in his 80s, and we talked about the COVID crisis, and he was really confident he's going to make it through it. As he said to me, you know, he survived the polio, he survived smallpox. We all got some. When I was a kid, I got a smallpox vaccination. He had the mumps, the measles, the chickenpox, rubella, the whole spectrum of diseases that most of us went through without a vaccination. We did quite well. And he survived the Vietnam War. He was a Vietnam vet. He survived AIDS. He's not an HIV positive person, but once again, there was a threat to all of us. Survived the Hong Kong flu, the swine flu, the list goes on and on. But the one thing he did tell me was he's really surprised how everybody's kind of shut down and are depriving themselves of a lot of things. So my message to you today is go out and enjoy yourself. Being a Jimmy Buffett fan, or like he said, he's a parrot head, he said, if you're not out there doing the things you love, then aren't you dead already? So good message to take home. As we start to open up, get out there and do the things you love. There are new precautions, sure, but you got to go on living. Like one of my favorite movies is a phrase from the movie called The Shawshank Redemption is get busy living or get busy dying. So I'll kind of leave you with that. From San Diego, God bless and goodbye.